Kamala Harris's PR team is racing to cover her tracks as she made some pretty outrageous comments last week in the wake of Hurricane Ian hitting Florida, causing massive devastation. What she said about federal relief money and how it was going to get to people was actually pretty racist. My name's Tom. I'm reporting with the Daily Beltway. If it's your first time here today, please go ahead and click the subscribe button down below and the notification bell so you can stay up to date on all the latest breaking news. Well, Kamala Harris has finally overstepped a little bit when it comes to some of her woke, psychotic, leftist, liberal tendencies and how she was trying to go ahead and push that out there for the world. We're reporting today from Fox News. It says fact checkers race to defend Kamala Harris after VP's controversial equity comments. Can't wait to get into this. Mainstream media fact checkers are going to bat for President Kamala Harris after her remarks about hurricane relief and climate change caused a widespread backlash. Last week, when speaking at the Democratic National Committee's Women Leadership Forum, Harris said that it was our lowest income communities and our communities of color that are most impacted by these extreme conditions, which is accurate. It happens. But how you phrase things and how you do things, Kamala, is completely different. Imagine if Trump had come out and said, hey, you know what? We're going to go ahead and take care of the billionaires because, you know what? They just need the money more. If Trump said the same thing, he'd be like, there's no difference in how people are treated in America. The amount of outrage from the media against that lady or against Trump would have been psychotic. So she stated that we have to address this in a way that's giving resources based on equity, understanding we fight for equality, but we also need to fight for equity. Never before in American history has a vice president or president stated that they're going to pick and choose who gets federal relief money first. Usually goes into coffers, and then those people can apply through like the Red Cross or different relief efforts in order to get those funds brought out to those communities, especially with the mayors and the governor and all these other different people. They are just open to ask for the money. As soon as a natural disaster is declared, the federal government responds, and then all of a sudden coffers and resources are opened up immediately. Now Kamala is talking about, taking some of the efforts away from certain areas in Florida and bringing them to different areas because of racial equity. Pretty crazy. Let's get to her video. Let's check it out.
Are most impacted by these extreme conditions and impacted by issues that are not of their own making. And so
she's like having to look around to see like, hey, am I making the right comments? She's like trying to get the crowd or the person next to her to back her up on which crazy way she's going with this. Just watch how she's acting. She's almost like, oh, should I say this? Should I not be saying this? But maybe, but she's looking for validation from whoever else is around her. Check it out.
Absolutely. And so we have to address this in a way that is about giving resources based on equity, understanding that we fight for equality, but we also need to fight for equity, understanding not everyone starts out at the same place. And if we want people to be in an equal place, sometimes we have to take into account those disparities.
Or natural disasters that cause people to go into this thing.
Do that work.
Wild times. Never before in American history has this ever happened before. Any president, vice president has ever said that people, just because they were in a natural disaster, deserve less help. It's absolutely psychotic. We're going to get back to Fox News here. The remarks drew swift criticism as some believe that Harris essentially stated that aid would be distributed based on racial and economic equity. She clearly said that. But fact checkers at the Associated Press, Reuters, and PolitiFact, all leftist establishment organizations, have all rushed to her defense, saying that she was talking more broadly about climate change. I'm sure. That just makes no sense to me. The AP published a headline, Harris's comments on addressing climate inequality misrepresented that noted the claim. Harris said that Hurricane Ian relief will be distributed based on race, with communities of color receiving aid first, were false. They stated Harris spoke about distributing resources to help vulnerable groups such as low-income communities and communities of color recover from disasters related to climate change. That's complete garbage and hogwash. Every time that Kamala Harris or Biden or whoever gets in trouble, they have the little interns go back and delete the manuscripts and text just to change what they say. Again, if this happened under Trump, it would be the biggest news story ever, and they would try to impeach him for the 17,000th time. But whatever. In the aftermath of Hurricane Ian, widespread social media posts mischaracterized Harris's comments, claiming that she said communities of color will be priorities in the distribution of storm relief. Golden continued, adding that Harris was responding to a multi-part question about both Hurricane Ian and long-term efforts tied to climate change. I'm sure that was the case. Harris, in response, mentioned Hurricane Ian in passing, but did not talk about specific relief efforts the federal government would undertake, Golden wrote. Deputy White House Press Secretary Andrew Bates, because we know he's going to tell the truth, told the AP that these claims about race-based aid are inaccurate, and that the Harris was actually discussing long-term goals for addressing climate change that have bipartisan support. Full of crap. I mean, just you can hear the lie through the paper that these guys are saying. Reuters took a similar approach with a headline, fact-check clip of Kamala Harris on hurricane relief and equity taken out of context online. It's almost like they're reading out of the same playbook. The news gathering service wrote that Harris's quote had been circulating online without full context and that the vice president didn't truly say Hurricane Ian relief funds would be distributed based on equity. The short clip cuts the full context of the comment, which it probably does, but she probably could be in deeper trouble if it went on more, knowing how she says stuff, where Harris was asked about Hurricane Ian relief efforts as well as how the United States should respond to climate change impacts more broadly. The specific comment Harris made about providing resources based on equity was in response to a lengthy question. Sure thing. The viral clip of Harris's response was missing context again. I mean, that's all you're going to hear from these guys is missing context, missing context. Anytime she says something stupid or Biden says something stupid, they literally change the manuscripts and the texts to make up for it. I mean, just go on DuckDuckGo and type in White House transcript changed to reflect Biden gaffe. When he's talking, mumbling, and when he gets up there and he's like stumbling over his words for about 3 minutes, and then there's such a beautiful, eloquent transcript of what he said afterwards. We're like, are we missing the translator? Is he speaking in a dialect of English? We don't know. It's just wild. And again, they're going to continue in the Fox News article that Politico also PolitiFact stuck up for Kamala Harris. Shocking. And again, it's the same line of crap, that she did this, and that, and it was out of context. And then it called out, the fact check specifically called out Florida Senator Rick Scott's claim that Harris had said, if you have a different skin color, you're going to get some relief faster. Conservatives, including Florida Rick Scott, seized on a shortened, out-of-context clip. Again, the same thing. And then you go to factcheck.org, also looked into the claim, although it concluded readers can judge for themselves what Harris meant to say, claiming also that Harris was broadly talking about the climate change. We're going to do one more time.
I know we are all thinking about the families in Florida, in Puerto Rico, with Fiona, and what we need to do to help them in terms of an immediate response and aid, but also what we need to do to help restore communities and build communities.
When she was talking about Puerto Rico, they were just devastated by Hurricane Ian as well. And President Biden jumped on an airplane, he stuck over there, and he's like, we're going to give you guys $60 million in relief efforts to try to help this out. Meanwhile, ignoring Florida and not responding to DeSantis' claim of a disaster. Not even visiting Florida, which is an American state. Puerto Rico isn't yet. Probably will be in the future. But they didn't even go to Florida first. Shame. Shame, shame, shame.
That they can be resilient, not to mention adapt to these extreme weather conditions, which are part of the future.
Again, clearly talking about a hurricane, not climate change or anything else. But now they're trying to say that, Ian was proof of climate change, even though you guys can Google all that stuff and research it. But storms have been intensifying, but they've also only had 170 years of empirical data, and that's the first one in over 100 years to hit that area. So they haven't, built houses to withstand it.
On the point that you made about disparities, when I was district attorney of San Francisco, I was elected in 2003. I started one of the first environmental justice units of any DA's office in the country focused on this issue, and in particular on the disparities, as you have described rightly, which is that it is our...
You guys get the point. It was pretty obvious that she was talking about Hurricane Ian. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. Was she talking about Hurricane Ian? Was she talking about climate change? Or it's pretty much proof in the pudding? Let me know in the comments. God bless you guys. Have a good one.